Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustling dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a confident grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go.
All right. Testing, testing, testing. Todd, Harlan, can you hear me? Testing with this microphone. Testing, testing. Is the audio good? Is the video good? We got some breaking news. We got some breaking news to break right now. Per Mike Garafolo, after the Jaguars' dismissal of GM Trent Baalke, let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Todd, Harlan, can you hear me? I don't want to go into this if you can't hear me. Audio check, audio check, audio check. You never know with these microphones whether they're going to work or not, no matter how many times. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Todd. Okay, per Mike Garafolo 25 seconds ago, after the Jaguars' dismissal of GM Trent Baalke, this, meaning a plot twist with Liam Cohen, occurred. The plot twist is Bucks OC Liam Cohen, per Ian Rappaport, has been speaking with the Jaguars in person for the head coaching job, and he is a key candidate to be the coach in Jayville, per Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero, the human arrow. Days after agreeing, but not signing, a massive extension in Tampa, he may find a head coaching job he could not refuse. So, plot twist in the coaching carousel, it looks like Liam Cohen indeed may land in Jacksonville after using the Buccaneers for leverage. This will make the Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans furious. Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans are going to be furious about this one. They thought they had their man. They wanted Todd Bowles out of there just to keep Liam Cohen and promote him to the head coach of the Bucks when they thought they might lose him. Then nobody apparently wanted to work with Trent Baalke, the general manager of the Jaguars. Then the Jaguars eventually fired Trent Baalke, and now Liam Cohen is saying, "Oh, you got rid of that bum? Well, maybe I'll come work for you after all in Jacksonville as the head man," which would leave, of course, the Buccaneers in the lurch. Baker Mayfield had a career year, an incredible season. under Liam Cohen. And Adam Schefter reports 3 minutes ago the two sides are discussing a deal that would make Liam Cohen the next head coach of the Jaguars. This is all getting confirmed by all of the people who confirm these things. Uh, this is breaking news as we came on the air. And as the old Frankie from Flatbush song was playing, brought some news. No, he did not sign Harlan. That's the thing. He agreed, but he did not sign. Diana Rossini, Diana Dushini has this to say about it. Former Jets head coach Robert Saleh is scheduled to be with the Jaguars on Friday. Now that Bucks OC Liam Cohen has re-engaged with the Jaguars to be the next head coach, there are lots of moving parts. So Saleh was thought to maybe go over there. Now who knows, maybe he goes back to San Francisco. So 49er fans may be happy about all this. Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports says, sources say the Jaguars circled back with an improved offer. That means more money to Liam Cohen after the team dismissed Trent Baalke, who everybody hated except for Shad Khan, apparently. And there have been positive conversations in the time since. So Shad Khan was not smart enough to know that Trent Baalke needed to be fired right after the season, along with Doug Peterson. But after nobody wanted to take the job, he wisened up and said, "Get out of here, Balky." So interesting. And Cohen did not sign, as far as we know, that new deal, but he had agreed to it verbally. This is what we think, anyway. I guess we got to get actual confirmation. Tom Pelissero, the Human Arrow, says Liam Cohen informed the Jags on Wednesday he was staying in Tampa on a new contract, but so he just told them. And again, nothing's final until you sign it. Until you put your name on the line that is dotted, as they said in Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, coffee's for closers. You don't get any of that coffee because you're not closing. You got to get their name on the line, which is dotted. And apparently he didn't. They didn't get him to sign. He just verbally agreed. Then it says, but after the firing of GM Trembalke, the Jags reached out to see if Cohen would reconsider. Reached out to the agent, of course, and said, "We'll give you more money, Mr. Agent Man." Now Cohen is in Jacksonville, appears to be headed towards a deal. So, breaking news, breaking news, breaking snooze. That's the latest in the coaching carousel. Now, of course, for the New York Jets, this doesn't really matter, um, other than just intriguing to see where all these people end up landing. Um, if Robert Saleh, for example, doesn't get this job, he's almost certainly going to get the 49ers defensive coordinator job. He's also, I think, in contention for the Raiders job, so a head coaching job. So he might get that. So um, a lot of demand for the services of one Robert Saleh. Sign on the line which is dotted. Have you seen that movie, Harlan? Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross? I think you should watch it. It's an excellent movie. You got to get their name signed on the line which is dotted, is the way Alec Baldwin says it. Not a good person, Alec Baldwin, but a very good actor. And a lot of other really good actors in that movie as well. In case you haven't seen it, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross is about salespeople, and he gives them the great famous speech: coffee is only for closers. No coffee for people who are not closing. A, B, C. Always be closing. Uh, but anyway, the the so that's what we got going on here. Big Green is here. Omatic is here. Good to see you, fellas. Good to see you, fellas. Never saw it. Read my last comment. Well, I think you should watch that movie, Harlan. That's a good movie. I think you would like it. Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, lots of good actors in that movie. Actors all over the place. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. It's a whole speech he gives them about you don't get any coffee unless you close your deals. A very famous scene. But anyway, known as the coffee is for closers scene. Um, let's see if the Jets have anything. No. Okay. So, yeah, Josina Anderson says goes to show you how things can quickly change until pen is to paper with these NFL carousel jobs. So yeah, so that's what's going on. Uh, what's going on with the Jets? Well, with the Jets, it's the Glenaissance. The Glenaissance begins on Monday. So if you're not ready for the Glenaissance, you should prepare accordingly because the Glenaissance will commence on Monday, January 27th at 1 p.m. when Aaron Glenn takes to the podium and is going to tell us all exactly how he's going to right the ship, so to speak. How he's going to right the ship, so to speak, of this forbidden franchise. We did get a bit of news about Aaron Glenn. Now, Adam Schechter is reporting. Adam Schefter is reporting. Why don't I just share the screen here? This might be easier. This is a lot of news breaking now. A lot of news breaking now. Let's see if this will work. Doo-be-doo-be-doo. Buccaneers have had no contact today with Liam. They can't get him on the phone. Hello, Mr. Cohen. We're trying to contact you or his representation. The agent is not answering the telephone for any area codes in Tampa Bay, only Jacksonville. Cohen is in Jacksonville discussing a deal to become the head coach. So the agent is not even picking up the phone. Listen, Buccaneers, we know you got Baker Mayfield and all this. We're not trying to hear that, see? We're not trying to hear that, see? They're not even picking up the telephone. The Buccaneers must be stunned. We had a deal with you, Liam. What are you doing? You're two-timing us over here. We had a deal. Now you're going over there? We would have increased your money fivefold. You pick up the phone. I mean, you never know what they're going to offer. I mean, I don't understand why the agent won't even pick up the phone. Maybe they're going to offer him 10 times as much. You never know. You never know. Pick up the phone. We'll have a conversation. Why not? You're an agent. That's what you do. So that's what's going on. Latest in NFL news. Liam Cohen, plot twist. But what did we learn about old Aaron Glenn? Something I told you guys about on X, if you follow me there. Should we get rid of this thing over here? Oh, here's Diana Dushini. The Tampa Bay Bucks have been operating as if Cohen was returning after offering him a hefty deal. They offered him a hefty deal. Hefty, she says. The contract was never signed. There you go. Confirmation. What I said. And the Bucks were not informed. He spent the day in Jacksonville. He snuck out in the middle of the night. Spent the day in Jacksonville. He didn't even tell him he was leaving. Yeah, I'm just going out for coffee, guys. I'll see you later. Or let me. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the previous day. All right, see you guys tomorrow. All right, have a good night. Yeah, have a good night, everybody. And he gets in his car and drives up to Jacksonville. Whoops. Forgot to tell you what? I forgot to tell you I'm heading up to Jacksonville. Heading up to Jacksonville. Forget this Tampa Bay stuff. I'm going north. So there you go. Did not sign it. He did not sign on the line which is dotted. Uh, so there you go. Breaking news as we're on the air. Breaking the news as we're on the air. Now, what else might we say about today's news that we found out? We found out a little bit more about Mr. Aaron Glenn. Doo doo doo. From Timothy J. Jones. Timothy J. Jones. The New Orleans Saints had a strong chance of hiring, it says here, of hiring Aaron Glenn as their head coach. However, Glenn requested that the team consider moving on from Mickey Loomis as general manager and allow him to be involved in the hiring of a new GM. The Saints were not willing to make this change, according to sources. So there you go. Now you see why the Jets did what they did to lure this man in. After all, he was the only one of the only people. There were 7 openings in the NFL. Aaron Glenn went 7 out of 7 for interview requests. I think he was the only one. So he was in high demand. And as so much so that the agent was putting things out about he really loves the Jet job and all this. He loves the Jets and then this, that, and the other thing. And I said on X, this sounds to me like I remember when Derek Carr had a slight lean, quote unquote, slight lean toward the Jets. And what the agent was doing in that case was trying to get the Saints, same team here, to up their offer to the client, Derek Carr, which they did. And then they signed him. Bada bing, bada boom, got it done. Slight lean. There was no slight lean. There was just putting pressure on the club. And so in this case, though, it didn't work. Because in this case, what he wanted was power over the decision for who the general manager would be. Now, the Jets did this. Uh, so Stanley Mann says, I didn't say he agreed to all the interviews. I said he got requested for all the interviews. 7 out of 7, Stanley Mann. And he told the Jets no. But 7 out of 7 teams requested him. That shows you the demand on the organization side. Now, as I'm saying, so what the Jets did, it turns out what the Jets did was smart. Believe it or not, I'm going to look optimistically about some of the things that the Jets did this offseason because of some of the news that came out, has come out. And that is that what they did was they did a parallel search. And a lot of people said, well, they should hire the GM first. What are they doing? Well, what they were doing was they were doing a parallel search and they were trying to find their man. And this was reported by Bert Breer, the pioneer. Bert Breer, the pioneer. Um, and what they did was they said, okay, we're going to try to find our man, whether it be a head coach or whether it be a general manager. We don't know who it's going to be yet, but for example, if Vrabel was really available, he would have been the man and he would have got hired first and then he would have had an influence on the GM, obviously. Same thing happened here. Glenn was probably second on their list of Vrabel. They kind of knew he probably was going to be the man. And they went through the process and they said, yeah, okay, we really want Glenn. So how can we get him? We can give him this power. Now, Aaron Glenn has more power because he has a voice over who we're going to hire. Now, we have 3 people in in contention for the GM job right now. 2 were interviewed today. In fact, we may get breaking news while we're on the air. So, but now Glenn has been hired. The first one that we talked to came in the same day as Glenn, but he already had a long-standing relationship with him, Lance Newmark. And then the other 2 candidates are Trey Brown and Darren Muji. And so now that Glenn is hired, he is going to have a say out of which one of those 3 he prefers once the interviews are over. And then apparently that's the power that he wanted, and that's something we could give him. So we did a smart thing because you say to yourself, this is an in-demand candidate. There were 7 openings, 7 teams requested an interview with Aaron Glenn. He went 7 for 7 in requests. That's high demand. 100% of the teams that had an opening wanted to talk to Aaron Glenn. How did we get him? We're the Jets. We're in the ghetto. The NFL is a city. You got your ghetto, you got your middle class neighborhood, you got your gated community. The gated community is composed of teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens, teams that are always competing for a Super Bowl every single year, pretty much. The middle class is teams that are sometimes in contention, sometimes not. You know, they're 10 win teams, 9 win teams. Sometimes they might contend, sometimes they fall back. And then you got the ghetto. And the ghetto is composed of the loser teams, okay, like us, the Giants, the Bears, the teams that just are always losing over the last 20 years or so, 10, 20 years, whatever it may be. And you try to climb your way out of the ghetto and get eventually into the gated community and stay there. Then some teams fall out of the gated community and so forth and so on. So, how did we get such a strong candidate? Well, I think we did something smart. This is what I'm trying to say. I think we actually did something smart by doing the parallel search, finding the guy. Wound up to be Glenn because Vrabel was not going to come here with the Patriots job being opened up when they fired Mayo. So, and we could say, all right, look, we'll give you extra power. You will have a voice over who the GM is. And then that's also good for us, I think, because then those two people are in alignment, total alignment, you know, and that's fine by me. If that's what it took to get an Aaron Glenn here, hey, I like it. I mean, doesn't mean he's going to be successful. We don't know. But I think that was a smart approach. That's what I'm trying to say. And that gives me some optimism because one of the things that's been so annoying and depressing about the end of this past season was all of the reporting that we got about Woody and all of the things he was doing. It was a very, very difficult time, I think, for Jet fans. Number one, the season was very disappointing and, horrible to experience. But then we got these reports about Woody doing all this crazy stuff with the Madden ratings and Brick Johnson and yelling at Mike White in the locker room after the Seahawks game and all of that kind of thing. And it was very hard to see how we were going to pull ourselves out of the ghetto if this was our owner and if he was never going to change and if he could never change his mind and if he could never make good decisions. How are we going to pull ourselves out of the ghetto? So to see some good decisions were made here. In other words, how to do the search was a good decision. Maybe the 33rd team told him to do this. Who knows? But we hired the 33rd team, and that seems to have been a good idea if they were involved in this. Like, how should we approach this? Maybe what he told them. And maybe Tenenbaum and Spielman put their heads together and said, this is how we think you should do it. And the result was we got Aaron Glenn, one of the most in-demand candidates in this cycle. So if that's the case, that's two good decisions that Woody made. Now we're Jet fans, and we have to, you know, we have to look for small little things to give us some optimism about going forward. Because we're in the ghetto, we don't have a great situation. We don't have a great quarterback situation right now. Um, and we're in a division that's very the teams have a lot to look forward to. I mean, you have the Bills with McDermott and Josh Allen. Those guys aren't going anywhere. Now you have the Patriots with Vrabel and Drake May. That's going to be a long-term partnership and looks like a good one. And then you have McDaniels, a young genius offensive head coach of the Dolphins, and Tua, who's really good as long as he can stay healthy. And they just gave him a big deal. So if you look at it from a certain perspective, we kind of have the worst of it in terms of that. Now, we do have some talent on the roster. We do have some positive aspects to our team, but it's not great because you got to have the quarterback or you got to have at least a plan to get one. And we don't exactly know what the plan is going to be yet to get one. So there we go. Big Green says, did Washington do the same thing? I forget what Washington did, but Washington did hire the 33rd team, and they had a good result. Obviously, they got Adam Peters, and they got Dan Quinn, and they got Jaden Daniels. They got all three right. Ding, ding, ding. They got all three right, at least so far. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I would say the other thing, and so that's basically the news with Glenn. Now, one of the things that we're doing is looking at this guy, Nick Cayley. Nick Cayley. Let me get rid of this thing. Nick Cayley. It looks like this guy might be our new OC. So we might want to get to know Nick Cayley. Who is this guy, anyways? Tony, the GM, says 26 has lots of quarterbacks. Fix the defense this year. Yeah, that could be what they decide to do. And in fact, that's one option. I mean, if they keep the trio, because the way I see it, Tony, is that Rodgers is a three-person deal. It's Rodgers, it's Lazard, um, and Adams. I think they're the three amigos, and they all go together. So if you decide to keep them all, they all need contract adjustments. But you could say, all right, look, if you're willing to make these contract adjustments, we're willing to keep you for at least 1 year, maybe two. And you could even take a developmental quarterback like Jalen Milroe or whoever your favorite developmental quarterback is, Will Howard, whoever it may be, and do that. Or you could just say, well, you know what? We'll stick with. We're not going to take a quarterback at all in this draft. Go Rodgers, Taylor, and Jordan Travis. Hope Jordan Travis turns into something. Maybe, maybe not. And then go full hog in 26, and trade up if you need to, trade down, trade around, so forth and so on. Um, so that is something they could do. Now, if they do that, then it'll be very easy to see what they're going to do in the off season, right? The offense isn't going to require that much. We need a right tackle, we need a tight end, little things here and there. But then almost all of our resources, free agency, draft, is going to be on defense. And you have to wonder if Garrett Wilson is going to want to be here if Rodgers is back, and we'll get to that. There's a story about that. But it's looking like Nick Cayley is going to be our offensive coordinator. This is going to be an important hire for the Glenn era. Obviously, who is going to be your OC? Now, this is a guy who is currently in with the Rams with Sean McVay. And you can see his career history here. Spent a long time in college. He was a graduate assistant for longer than normal, but then eventually moved up to Iowa State, Auburn, Eastern Illinois, Arkansas, Florida Atlantic. Then he got onto the Patriots. So learned under Belichick. So whatever you think of that. He was the offensive assistant. Then he was a tight ends coach. Then he was tight ends and fullbacks coach. Then he went back to just old tight ends coach, probably because they didn't have any fullbacks anymore. Then he moved over to the Rams, tight ends coach. And then this year he got a promotion, tight ends coach and pass game coordinator. So he got some promotions, and he's well thought of in the league. His name has come up with us before. So he's a young guy. Obviously, never been an OC before. So this is an up and comer. So this would be kind of taking a chance. We have no idea what kind of a play caller he'd be because he's never done it. So it's a little bit risky. You wonder if Glenn would want somebody more experienced in this role. The rumor is that we're probably going to hire Steve Wilks to be the defensive coordinator. And that would be, a safe choice of somebody who has a lot of experience. Whereas, obviously Aaron Glenn has a lot of coaching experience, but not a lot of head coaching experience. Now, so if Cayley comes in, he decides with Glenn that they want to keep Rodgers for a year. We're going to punt on quarterback until the 26th draft or whatever the plan is. Tony's saying the 26th draft has a lot of QBs, so we can wait. Okay, maybe that's the way they look at it. Well, that may make one person in particular, and let's say the cascade is that Rogers comes, Adams comes, Lazard comes, everybody stays, they get their contracts adjusted, and we get some cap room and all that. Well, there's one person on our team may not be happy about that. His name is Garrett Wilson. Here's an article from the Boston Herald at 30 degrees up in Boston right now. 5 Patriot offseason fixes, including 6 potential trade candidates. 6 potential trade candidates. So AJ, they might go after AJ Brown. They might go after Debo Samuel. They might go after Garrett Wilson. So what if Garrett Wilson isn't happy about that direction and he demands a trade, as has been rumored? It says right here, if young wide receiver is going to get traded, it'll typically happen after his 3rd NFL season, since it presents a crossroads for his team as they decide whether or not to pick up the 5th-year option. That's where Wilson sits now. ESPN's Dick Chimney said last month that people in Wilson's camp, he got people in his camp, expect him to request a trade this offseason. So that's already been in the news. Wilson is still just 24 years old, and this isn't the strongest draft class for top end wide receivers. Pairing Wilson and Drake May could do wonders for both players' careers, especially if Wilson is not happy with Aaron Rodgers, and that's the way we want to go. The Patriots would pick up Wilson's 5th-year option, locking him in through the 2026 season and likely sign him to a contract extension as well. Now, here's the thing that he gets wrong, in my opinion. Acquiring Wilson would likely require the Patriots to send a future first-round pick or multiple day 2 picks to the Jets. Now, I don't think that's accurate. I think any deal involving Garrett Wilson will have to include their first-round pick. Now, maybe we need a little bit of a sweetener in there, but I think if we pursue this, we might try in some form or fashion. We'd have to give them some picks and maybe another player to get the 4th overall pick in the draft. And what if we had the 4th overall pick in the draft and the 7th overall pick in the draft? And now we'd have to give up Garrett Wilson, which sucks. But if he's unhappy here, if he really doesn't want to be here, and if he forces his way out, that may be something that we could do. And they might look at it like, well, Garrett Wilson, if he were in this draft, would clearly be the best wide receiver in this draft. And therefore, at 4, we might have just taken him anyway. If Garrett Wilson were in this draft, we would take him with the 4th pick anyway. So if we trade the pick for him and we get him with 3 years of experience and no risk involved, when you pick somebody out of the draft, you think they're going to be great, and some are great and some are not, and some stink. So this would be an intriguing option for both, I think, the Patriots and the Jets, especially if we threw in. I mean, they really, really need wide receivers. They have nothing. They got Pop Douglas and a bunch of nothing up there. So what if we threw in Malachi Corley as well, who we apparently can't figure out what to do with, but maybe they could figure it out. Maybe Josh McDaniels can figure out what to do with Malachi Corley. And what if, what if that's the way it goes? And then we would spend a 4th pick. I mean, what if that 4th pick turns into Abdul Carter? And we picked up Abdul Carter and Will Johnson or something like that. That would be pretty amazing. So all sorts of things that move around. Now, if we decide that we're not keeping Rodgers, then all this goes away. I think Wilson becomes happy. We just extend Wilson and we keep him around with whatever the quarterback plan is going to be. But then if we get rid of Rodgers, I don't know what the quarterback plan is going to be, other than maybe you take one this year, like a Will Howard or Jackson Dart or whoever your favorite developmental quarterback is, Milrow, and hope and pray, and then see what happens. So, the latest on Liam Cohen sources: there is not a deal currently in place between Liam Cohen and the Jaguars, but he is absolutely the favorite. Shad Khan has orchestrated this thing and believes Cohen is his guy. So Adam Schefter is reporting Liam Cohen said he reached out to Bucks head coach Todd Bowles to inform him of his interest in interviewing for the Jaguars head coaching job. Hmm. Josina Anderson reporting it is true that Bucks Liam Cohen amplified deal with the team remains unsigned. Additionally, I'm told, quote unquote, he went silent as the club was trying to finalize things and get more information about his staff, per a league source. The wish is that Cohen would have just stayed the course, flushing things out with the Jags. Flushing things out? Now this all makes sense. Well, first of all, she misspells Cohen here, but would have just stayed the course, flushing things. She means fleshing things out with the Jags. Um, Interesting, but it's very interesting how Trent Baalke was just so bad that nobody wanted to be there, and now multiple people want to be there. I guess. Well, very interesting breaking news on a Thursday night. Yeah, Horan says McCord from Syracuse, Rourke from India. I wouldn't go for Rourke myself, but whoever the Jets rank as their, and hopefully there would be a bucket, not a basket, a bucket. Like hopefully there's 4 or 5 names that they like about the same, and whoever drops them, let's say in the third round or whatever round they think is appropriate, yeah, you take them instead of focusing on one guy. Hopefully there's 4 or 5 guys. You rank them about all the same. So that could be the way to go. I don't think the fan base is going to get too excited about Kyle McCord or Nathan Rourke or even Jalen Milrow or any of these Jackson Dart or any of these guys. So I think that's going to be if that's the way we go and we just say it's going to be Tyrod and Jordan Taylor and one of those guys, you know, whichever one we have rated the highest that falls to us in the third round or whatever, fourth round. I don't think the fan base is going to get too excited about any of those people, to be honest. So that's trouble. That's troubling. So it's kind of like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I could see Aaron Glenn wanting to go either way. I don't think anybody has. There's been rumors floating around the internet if you haven't been following it along, that there's been rumors, but not really substantial by anybody I would trust. But there have been rumors that say that Aaron Glenn prefers to keep Aaron Rodgers around. But those are just rumors, and they're not rumors from anyone I would trust, like a Joe Cena. Jojo, we just talked all through this. We broke the news earlier, Jojo. You missed it. You missed it, buddy. We broke the news here on the program about Cohen. We broke it by reading the internet live, buddy. And these coaches, I think, are starting to make big bucks now. I think these coaches are starting to make big bucks. These owners are desperate to win. They're probably paying these guys buku bucks to get whoever it is that they want, whether it be Ben Johnson in Chicago or Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. These guys are getting buku bucks. Uh, so I'm just checking to see if there's anything breaking at this moment. Nothing really. Yeah, Jojo, that's what happens when you're late, man. You miss stuff, brother. Jojo was a man from Tucson, Arizona. Get back, Jojo. Harlan says, "Who cares if the fan base gets excited or not?" Well, you might care, Harlan, if the fan base gets excited because you own a team that needs to sell tickets, who wants to get good ratings on television, who wants to get merchandise sales, who wants to get all of the concession sales, and that's why you want people to be excited. The Jets are in a very precarious position. I could see if this all goes poorly, I could see I could see a percentage of the fan base taking an intensity step back. So not as many people watching on television, not as many people going to the games, and then having all of the opposing teams' fans in your stadium, which is embarrassing, and then not as many merch sales, and then not as much concession sales. Now, the NFL is pretty, an NFL team is pretty hard to screw up. You know, it's not like Woody Johnson is going to be hurting in the pocketbook because the stadium's going to be filled one way or another, whether it's Jet fans or opposing team fans. And they might lose some merch sales, they might lose some concessions, they might lose some rate TV ratings, but overall the team's still going to be valuable because it has the words New York on it. So it's not going to hurt him too much. But if Woody wants to win, if Woody really cares about the fan base, then he would care about them being excited. Now, fans aren't going to watch the games if they start losing, Harlan. I mean, I'm sorry, but if this team doesn't start winning soon, it's going to be rough, bro. It's going to be rough. This fan base is very, I would say, demoralized right now. My opinion, I think the fan base is very demoralized right now. And they're just sort of waiting to see. Now, Aaron Glenn is a good step forward. I think a lot of fans are excited about Aaron Glenn, so that's good so far. But we got to see how how the rest of the staff shakes out, how the GM shakes out, and then how the quarterback decision makes out shakes out. And I think it's kind of unfair and it's kind of unfortunate, but the quarterback situation is what drives so much of what goes on in the NFL. It's just the reality of it. When you have a good young quarterback that you feel good about, you know, it sort of drags in all of the sort of normie fans to get more excited and then bring the excitement to game day, to the ratings, all that stuff. If possible, Sports Illustrated wants Jets to trade up to two. For what purpose, Big Green? What would be the purpose of trading up to two? So if I let's look at and in what context, giving up what? So the only reason I would make a trade with Cleveland, Tennessee. They're not going to give up the number one pick, but like Cleveland, Tennessee, the Giants. If um, if Garrett just wanted out of here and we couldn't convince him to stay, and we had basically had to trade him, then I would try to trade him to one of these teams ahead of us in the draft. Cleveland could use a wide receiver. The Giants, in the worst way, could. New England really needs one or two or three. Uh, and then you get one of those picks. But I mean, who are we trading? And then you get one of those picks in addition to seven. Big round. I don't want to give up seven. I don't want a pick swap. I want to get two first round picks. We need to replenish this roster. You know. Yeah, it looks like the JoJo looks like the OC favorite right now is Nick Caley, offensive line coach. We don't know yet. Now, real fans know that offensive line coach is other than the coordinators the most important coach on the team. But the normies don't know that. Jonathan Jones says, as of right now, 5 seconds ago, sources believe that the Jaguars have fulfilled the Rooney Rule already. So there are no legal rules preventing Jacksonville from completing a deal with Liam Cohen should the two sides ultimately agree to terms. The Buccaneers are likely to be on their fourth offensive coordinator in as many years after Byron Leftwich, Dave Canales, and now Cohen. Um, so that's the latest. Yeah, but what's the deal, Big Green? What are we giving up? And who wrote the article? Some dum dum? There's a lot of dumb stuff that comes out these days just to get clicks. Don't forget, Big Green. You got to really filter your sources, buddy. Nah, I disagree, Harlan. And that's another thing, though. You do need to have sharp people working on your contracts. So I'd like to see what we're going to do there. Are we going to improve that? You need sharp people working on your contracts to be able to structure these things properly to where the athlete is happy and uh, gives enough cap room for the club. One day. But I don't think we've been great at that. That's why it would have been nice to get a guy like Mike Greenberg in here. He knows he's a genius with that stuff, or that Hallaby guy. But hopefully, the new GM has a plan for that, so that when you have these big talent, you know, drafts like we had with Garrett and Sauce and Brees and Jermaine and all that, you know how to structure these things going forward, so you can do it properly. Jojo, Tampa has been trying to contact him. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we read that on the air, Jojo. Let me try to bring up these. Okay, this looks good. All right. So I can bring up these comments here. We got the old computer back, the real computer. So maybe I could do this. Adirondack Fly Guy. Yeah, what we were proposing, Adirondack Fly Guy, is if Garrett is demanding a trade only. I wouldn't trade Garrett, but if he's demanding a trade because let's say he doesn't want to play with Rodgers, for example, and I'm just proposing that. I don't know that he doesn't want to do that. I'm just saying if, because there have been reports that he might request a trade this offseason. If that's the case, and we can't come to a resolution for him, resolution with him, um, then you got to trade him. What are you going to do? Matt Schmidt, pick swap and seventh rounder for a second and next year's first. Nah, we're not doing that. I don't know why would we do that. Obviously, he thinks we should get one of these quarterbacks, right? The only reason you do that is for a quarterback, but this is not a draft where there's a surefire home run quarterback like Joe Burrow or something like that. These guys who are in the top five, yeah, they might turn out great, but they might not. Nobody really knows. It's not a Joe Burrow type of deal. So, I mean, that must be what that guy's thinking. The Jets will, Jets don't have Rodgers. They need a quarterback. They're going to make a trade to go get one of the top two guys. But eh, I don't know. Herkimer County. Jojo says no response. Yeah, you picked that up too, huh, Jojo? That's something I meant to say. Sometimes on X I will say something like, "There's a dog that should be barking that's awful quiet right now." And then when I say things like that, nobody nobody knows what I'm talking about. But that's something that happened that I put out there and nobody really picked up. And it was like, you saw all these other players saying things, but not Garrett. And so I'm not sure if Garrett's happy. Now it could mean nothing. We don't know. Maybe he's on vacation. He's not maybe he's disconnected from his social media right now. We don't know. But it could be that he's not so happy with Aaron Glenn, and it could be he's not so happy with Aaron Rodgers, and it could be that he just is sick and tired of losing and he wants out of here. So, yeah, Big Green, I agree with you. But Joe Burrow was a no brainer. Trevor Lawrence was a no brainer. Now he hasn't turned out that great. Yeah, they did say that quarterback class was loaded, but that was also in the COVID era, and that was the mistake we made. That was the mistake we made is that we didn't have enough information to take such a big risk on Zach Wilson and and we took the risk. So we should have traded out. And there were teams that were hot for Zach Wilson, like the 49ers. We could have gotten so many picks. That's what we should have done. And just ride it out with Sam. And if he works out, great. But if not, then you have a loaded team with all these draft picks, hopefully that you hit on. So that was the mistake we made. And that's what I'm saying. It's hard to forecast these things. But with quarterbacks, it's very, very difficult. But this year, it's pretty consensus that there's only two in the top 10. Now, that's the consensus. Doesn't mean it's right. It's just what the consensus of all these big brain idiots is. All these professional scouts. Yeah, Jackson Dart. Whether it's Jackson Dart or Jalen Milrow or Will Howard or whoever you think about it, Quinn Ewers or, all these guys, Rourke or the other guy, they're all in the same category of who the hell knows. Jackson Dart, at least he played in the SEC. I mean, you could say that much. And at least he played for, what's his name? Instead of playing over there in the whatever, the Big Mountain Conference, or whatever they were in before they were in the Big 12. So, you know, there's that. And also his big year, Zach Wilson came in the COVID year, which was a strange year. Lots of the players, remember, opted out. They had to change scheduling around. So there was a lot of reasons not to take the risk of any quarterback, whether Zach or any of them, Trey, Lance, Mac Jones, you name it, Justin. So it was like that we didn't. The way I would have looked at it if I were Joe Douglas, I would say we don't have enough information to make this big of a gamble on any of these guys. If it's not Trevor Lawrence was considered the safest pick. He's turned out to be at least serviceable. He hasn't been. He's had moments. He's kind of went. He's kind of been up and down, but at least he's proven to be at least serviceable. And he was content. So he was probably the only one. And then everybody else is just too risky. And if it's too risky and you could trade the pick, which we could have very easily, we could have gotten so many draft picks because the 49ers were hot to move up. They wanted him and they settled for Trey Lance, but they wanted really Zach Wilson. Even played at the same high school. Jackson Dart played at the same high school as Zach Wilson. So you're telling me Jackson Dart went from Utah to Mississippi? I don't know, man. It seems like you know Jackson Dart very well. I don't. I just know the very basics about Jackson Dart. But the point about Jackson Dart is he falls into the same bucket as all these other guys. Who the hell knows? Nathan Rourke, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milrow, Will Howard, do. They're mid round. They're going to be mid round guys. Some of them are going to sneak up in the first round because they'll do really good at the Senior Bowl and they'll do good in interviews and somebody will fall in love with them. And that's just how it is every year. But ultimately, nobody knows. I mean, Lamar Jackson went 32nd for some reason. Every team passed on Lamar frickin' Jackson. God's sakes. Steve Young. Yeah, well, a lot of people were saying great things about Zach. Remember, Phil Simms had him number one. Not Phil Simms. What's his name? Chris Simms. Number one over Trevor Lawrence. Number one in the class. Steve Young was high on him. Chris Simms was high on him. All these people were high on him. Daniel Jeremiah said he was a perfect fit for Michael LaFleur's offense. I mean, I remember going through it with Green Bean, and I was trying to ascertain, okay, who are the people who we can trust with their opinions. So I remember going through everybody, Chris Simms, and even Tony Romo said he makes you think he could be like Mahomes. Remember that? I mean, it's ridiculous. This is what these people friggin' said. It was very disappointing. So that's, I think, what led me to think, well, all these people, they can't be wrong. Well, guess what? They were wrong. All of them. Romo, Sims, all these people. I mean, Chris Sims had De'Ami Brown over Jalen Waddle. De'Ami Brown's a nice little receiver, but I mean, come on. And and he had Zach Wilson number one in the class. Number one over Trevor Lawrence and everybody else, Justin Fields, everybody else. Number one. And this guy still has a job on television. He makes a lot of money talking about football. No one holds him accountable. Mel Kiper said Jimmy Clausen was an absolute lock. Remember that? Adirondack fly guy? The headband sold him. But remember Jimmy Clausen? AFG? Remember Jimmy Clausen? Well, Mel Kiper said, if Jimmy Clausen busts, I will retire, Mel Kiper said. Jimmy Clausen absolutely busted, and Mel Kiper did not retire and keeps going on and on every year. I'm supposed to respect his opinion about all these prospects. I mean, these people fail over and over again. They give you definitive opinions. They don't tell you, well, he has to go to this type of team and he has to go to this type of coach. They just say, this guy's number one. He's the best. He's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Then you take them and they stink. And nobody holds those people accountable to say, maybe this isn't the profession for you. We all keep listening to them. I mean, I think probably the best one is probably Dane Brugler. And there's a couple of guys that are pretty good. But even so, well, yeah. Well, you seem to know a lot about this stuff, AFG, but I did mention this at the time. I did mention it at the time that I was worried about this because I read somewhere about it. And he said that he has ADHD, but with football, he doesn't. He can concentrate on that all day long. Yeah, right. And that's what I mean. But it was COVID year, and we didn't have enough information. I think we did a bad job in scouting him. We just didn't have enough information. And Joe Douglas should have looked at it and gone, I'm not sure. I have too much information. I don't have it. I mean, I don't have enough information. Therefore, we cannot take this chance and pick this kid or any of them. Let's trade out of here. That's what we should have done. What we should have done. Yeah, these guys are so-called experts, and they never lose their job, Jojo. No one ever calls them on the carpet, and no one ever brings to Chris. Uh, no one ever calls them to the carpet and says, "Listen, uh, you keep getting everything wrong. Why should we listen to you?" They just keep going on and on and on. No one ever holds them accountable for anything. So no more information about Liam Cohen. I guess he's still in Jacksonville trying to get more millions out of Shad Khan. I mean, Liam Cohen probably is going to make what, 20 million now? I mean, Shad Khan is desperate. He's like, I got Trevor Lawrence here. We got to make it work with him. I just paid him $60 million a year. Uh, so I'm going to pay my quarterback 60 and I'm going to pay my head coach 20. That's two dudes, $80 million a year. Two dudes, $80 million a year that Shad Khan has to pay. Not that he cares, I guess. Billionaire. Yeah, that's right. People get held accountable for their performance, except if you're somebody who evaluates prospects. Then you don't get evaluated at all. And nobody looks back and goes, "Boy, you really stink." I think Peter Schrager does a good job because he bases it on what he's hearing that clubs will do, which is a better approach in my opinion. And I think he comes close. He comes closer than most. In other words, Peter Schrager's not a scout. He's not going to grade players. He's a journalist, but he bases it on what he's hearing teams will do, what they like, what they don't like, what they're looking for with their pick, and then he matches that up with with the prospects that might be appropriate for the place where you're picking. This is so wild. Ari Maidov, the Bucks expected Liam Cohen to return today. he totally he totally left him in the dust to sign his new deal, but he didn't show up. and they couldn't get in touch with him at all. This is the funniest story of the week. Meanwhile, the Jaguars ramped up their efforts. He totally ghosted the Buccaneers. Liam Cohen totally ghosted the Buccaneers. Meanwhile, the Jaguars ramped up their efforts, bombarding Cohen and re-engaging to the point where he's now in their facility. So the Bucks, Jason Light is sitting there going, all right, well, today's a great day in Buccaneer history. We're going to get Liam Cohen back. This is amazing. He's going to sign his new contract. All right, 9 o'clock rolls around, 10 o'clock rolls around. He's looking at his watch. He looks at Mike Greenberg and goes, Greenberg, where's Cohen? I don't know. He's supposed to be here at 9 o'clock. All right, call him up. They try to call him. They can't get in touch. He's not picking up the phone. And Greenberg's like, I got a bad feeling about this, boss. Boy, oh boy. What a story. Mayeroff says this is important. While the Bucks were prepared to make Cohen one of the highest paid coordinators, head coach money is in an entirely different league. It's not personal. It's not personal. Just business. Just business. Yeah, exactly, Richard. We could have gotten a boatload of picks. Look at all the picks they got. They traded for the number 3 pick. We could have done better, right? Because it's the number 2 pick. And they didn't want Lance. They wanted Wilson. We could have gotten all those picks. We could have been in buku heaven. We could have used those picks to make trades, big time trades, whatever. Whatever we wanted, we could have had it. But instead, we got Zach frickin' Wilson. Oh, yeah. Jojo, I mean, you can't blame Shad Khan. At least he recognized too late, but not late enough to get his guy or one of the guys he wanted. At least Shad Khan did what he had to do to get the guy he wanted. He was like, all right, I got to fire this guy. I got to get this guy in here. Okay, fine. Get him on the phone. Get him on the phone. Tell him we'll give him whatever he wants. We'll give him 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, whatever he wants. Can't blame him. But it's just funny as hell how Liam, they expected him to show up. They're sitting around going, all right, well, he's going to sign the contract today, right, Greenberg? Oh, yeah. You got it, boss. He's going to be here. It's going to be a great day in Buccaneer history. Got Liam Cohen back. We got Todd Bowles back. We're getting everybody back. We're going to run it back. We got Baker Mayfield. This is going to be amazing. And he doesn't show up. uh, Dooby doo. Now, Big Green says, what about this game? Bills or Chefs? The Kansas Swifty Chiefs. Well, the way I look at it, Big Green, I kind of want the Chiefs to go down, but then again, that means the Bills would win. But I don't really mind the Bills. I mean, they're our rivals, and I want to beat them. But you know, I think I don't really dislike. Aside from the flopping, wish these people would stop flopping. Aside from the flopping, I don't mind Josh Allen, and he's fun to watch outside of when he's beating the hell out of us. But um, I want the Swifty thing to end. But I don't think the interesting thing, we're going to be covering it live, Big Green. We're going to do a watch along. We're all going to sit here in this chair and we're going to watch and we're going to see if the NFL lets the Swifties lose. And I don't think they will. My theory is the NFL will not let the Kansas Swifty Chiefs lose. It's too much money on the line. Way too much money on the line. Bringing in all of those women who would not have any interest in football whatsoever into the fold is just too tempting for the NFL, in my opinion. And we're going to watch it and we're going to see. Because really, the Bills should win. The Bills have a better team. And then they can. And then AFG says they can go to the Super Bowl and lose again. Lose to the Commanders. I'm kind of hoping Jaden Daniels goes all the way. That'd be a cool story. Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, Josh Harris. You know, Peter Schrager tried to put out a tweet saying something to the effect of, hey, all of you fans of teams that stink, that are in the ghetto, as I put it. And by the way, it's the team is in the ghetto. It's not that their location is in the ghetto. The team is in the NFL city ghetto. Somebody had that incorrect. Um, the You can turn it around quick too. Look at the Commanders. And of course, I had to reply saying, "Oh, sure, it's real easy. All you got to do is replace the bad owner, which is what the Commanders did, with a good owner, and that's super easy to do, right?" Wrongo, bongo. Look how hard it was to get Daniel Snyder out of there. And of all the terrible things that Daniel Snyder did over the years, sexual harassment, workplace hostility, all of the stadiums falling apart, this and that, all this stuff, all this weird stuff. And Congress is involved. And it took them years to get him out. Years and years and years. And Woody's got none of that. So, no, it's not that easy. Not that easy. Rooting hard for Dan. Yeah. You got to love Jaden Daniels. What's not to root for with Jaden Daniels? Now here's a guy. Now there's a kid you can root for. I mean, what's not to like with Jaden Daniels? Fun to watch. He runs, he passes, he does it all. What can he do? What can he do? Well, they can't hurt Mahomes. We don't want anybody to be hurt. We just want people to lose. That's what we want. Nah, I know a lot of people think this way, Omatic, but I don't. I don't really I don't really hate our division rivals in the same way that a lot of Jet fans do. I want us to beat them. I want us to be better than them. But once it's all over and we're out of it, they're just another team to me. Unless they do something like when Mac Jones, for example, was on the Patriots. I hated Mac Jones because Mac Jones is a dirty player. He kicks people in the balls. That's not cool at all. That's totally that's totally stupid and wrong. He did it to one of our players. He's done it to multiple players. So like that guy, I will root against. I want him to lose and lose badly and perform terribly. But other than that, I mean, Josh Allen, how are you going to hate Josh Allen? Yes, I don't. I hate it when he flops. Flopping's bad. But otherwise, he's fun to watch play. Mahomes is fun to watch play too. If the Swifty aspect wasn't in it, I really wouldn't care. But I don't like the Swifty thing. And you know, Tua, again when he's not playing us, Tua's fun to watch. Tyreek Hill's fun to watch. Jalen Waddle's fun to watch. So I don't know. Once the Jets are out of it, I become sort of like a general football fan. So I don't hold over these. I hate the Bills. I hate the. Why do you hate them? Because they beat you? I mean, we have to be better. The thing is, the Jets have to be better. You don't wish for your opponents to be worse. You wish for yourself to become better so that your opponents don't matter. It doesn't matter who you bring against us. We're so good, we're going to beat your ass anyways. That's the way you have to think about it. You can't just hope that your opponent stinks. I mean, that's what was so deceptive about us a year two under Sala is that we faced all these backup quarterbacks and we thought we were some amazing defense and we were good, better than last year, but we weren't as good as we thought because our opponents were weak. You get a false impression. You want your team to be so good, it doesn't matter what the other team does. If we do what we need to do, we will beat your ass. That's the way it has to be. And so, therefore, I don't hold any grudges against the Bills or the Dolphins. Now, if it's the Commanders against the Bills in the Super Bowl, I'm going to root for the Commanders because the Bills are our division rivals. So, and I have no real say. And if it's just like no real rooting interest, if there's no real rooting interest and one of the teams is uh, is a division rival, then I'll root for them to lose, I guess. Especially if it's a fun team like the Commanders. Nobody expected the Commanders to be there. Now, if it's the Eagles, that's going to be a tough one because the Eagles are kind of a tough one to root for. Although You kind of got to root for Saquon Barkley. I mean, that's a fun guy to watch. And I personally will always root for Mekhi Becton. I will, because he wasn't great with us. He wasn't in shape with us. He was hurt. He was overweight. He didn't perform great. And then he got a wake up call for his career. He got into shape, and they moved him to guard, and now he's playing great. I'm not going to hate Mekhi Becton for that. I'm just not. I think he was always a good dude, but he was just not good enough for us. We uh, we of course should have taken Tristan Wirfs. Another mistake by Douglas, um, but Nick Sirianni's kind of hard to like. I mean, Nick Sirianni's kind of a jerk, um, so he's kind of hard to like. Unless you're a fan of the team, then you love him, of course. But I guess I would root for the Eagles, and Eagles fans, of course, are hard to like. They're kind of a holes. So, you know, yeah. Richard from Jersey says hidden cameras. Yeah. So listen, if people are really serious about Woody and selling the team, then what you have to do is you have to form an organization. You could call it Sell Woody Sell, kind of like Drill Baby Drill. Sell Woody Sell, and you have to form it you have to do it like a James O'Keefe undercover operation, and get in there and try and get some stuff, get some dirt on Woody. That's the only way. I'm not saying I would do it. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying if somebody wanted to do it, if somebody wants to get real about Woody selling this team, which he's not going to do unless something happens dramatic like that. He's not going to do it. It took the NFL years and years and years to get Daniel Snyder out, and he had all that stuff going on, including congressional inquiries. Woody Johnson has no such thing like that we're aware of. So if somebody wants to do a James O'Keefe undercover operation on Woody Johnson, well, that's probably the only way we're going to get anywhere with the sell Woody sell idea. I'm not saying we should do it. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying that's probably the only way it gets done. Unless somebody knows somebody like, I mean, even if you know somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, right? Even if you know somebody like him, even if you know him, you know Gary. I don't know Gary. I know of Gary. But even if you know, and let's say you had dinner with him, and you say, Gary, you're one of the biggest Jet fans in the world. You're seeing what's going on with Woody. You're freaking rich as can be, and also you know many, many, many other rich people. Why don't you put together a group of 10, 20, 30 very rich people and put together an offer of 10 to 12 million dollars? The Jets right now are worth about 7 billion. Put together an offer of 10 to 12 billion, just go way over market. Well, even if you did that, it probably wouldn't work, because I'm sure Gary Vaynerchuk has already thought of that. That's not a hard thing to come up with. And because I don't think Woody Johnson is selling under any circumstances unless he's forced to by a Daniel Snyder type situation, which is not present here. So we have to start looking at some of these things. And that's why I started the broadcast today by saying that stuff about Aaron Glenn and the way we conducted our affairs for the head coach and the general manager, um, because I think it turns out that was smart, and we went through that earlier in the broadcast, and that gives you hope that Woody can make some good choices. Maybe hiring the 33rd team was a good choice. Maybe the way we conducted the search in order for us to land a candidate of Aaron Glenn's caliber was a good choice, which means Woody and crew are capable of making good decisions and good choices. That's what we have to think about, because I just don't think anybody's going to be able to get Woody out. Woody's not going to leave on his own accord. Okay, Jacina Anderson says, okay, wait a minute. I'm not loving this timeline in Florida. If Patrick Graham's interview with the Jags was at 3 p.m. today, second, a league source pointed out that Liam Cohen's unsigned amplified deal in Tampa is really of no consequence because the potential head coach job promotion permits Cohen to take said interview in Jacksonville, signed or unsigned. The issue I'm hearing for some, as phones are going crazy, is the communication and timing of full transparency per the sentiments of some league sources. It's understandable one would want the potential opportunity and sizable pay raise, but some parts of the handling of the situation is being viewed as quote unquote unnecessary per one league viewpoint. Well, that doesn't matter. Why is she reporting this? Unnecessary. Who cares if it's unnecessary? This would be good to report if he did something illegal or breaking the contract, but he didn't. Yeah, maybe it was unnecessary for him not to pick up the phone when they called him. They couldn't get a hold of him. That's the part that I like. They're sitting around waiting for him to show up, and he doesn't show up, and then they can't get a hold of him. AFG says Allen flops, but he sells himself. That's true, but they both be flopping too much. Too much for me. Jaden Daniels taking out Mahomes. That'd be good. I mean, I really don't want the Swifties in the Super Bowl again. I really don't. Have you seen the plus minus? Yeah, it's amazing. Yes. So this was done by what's his name? What's his name? Who did that? So somebody I paid attention to for a long time. I took him off of my timelines because he was annoying me with some of the things he was posting. But anyway, he's big into a lot of the data, and he did a data analysis and basically proves what people perceive through data, and that's good because you don't want it to just be people's perception because emotions get in the way. But he basically proved it with the data that in fact the Chiefs are getting preferential treatment, which we all see with our eyes. But it's good to have the data to back it up, and maybe something like that coming from a respected outlet like that person uh, um, might. No, I mean it's not going to make any difference. It's not going to make any difference. There's too much money on the line. I mean, people don't really seem to understand the Swifty economy. The Swifties are a massive, massive economy on their own. It's hard for people to understand just how big of an impact the Swifties, basically all of the Taylor Swift fans, have on anything that she sort of points them to, whether it be her own tours, her albums, her merchandise, somebody else's merchandise, whatever it might be that she promotes, either directly or indirectly. In this case, indirectly. The size and impact of that Swifty economy is massive. It's hard to understand. It's not like somebody else. It's not like some of these other pop stars who have fan bases, but you know, you might get a little bit of a boost, but it's not really significant. The Swifties are significant. The Swifties are very significant. The only thing that really I think rivals the Swifties are these K-pop bands. If anybody has seen any K-pop, so this is Korean pop. Sometimes these K-pop bands come up and pop up, and they have fan bases that are unbelievable in terms of size and loyalty. And whatever they tell them to buy, they buy it. They buy five of them. So that is very powerful. And these Swifties are equally powerful. There have been whole articles written about the power of the Swifty economy, and that is why I don't think what's his name can put out all the data he wants. Richard, he can put out all the data he wants. We can all sit here and go, "See, I told you." But you know what the NFL cares about? If you think the NFL cares about football, you're not paying attention. The NFL cares about one thing and one thing only: money. That's it. Football is just a means by which they get there. They care about one thing and one thing only, and that's money. Jojo says, haven't seen any leaks. Yeah, with the GM interviews today. Exactly, Jojo. We're keeping our eye on it right now, Jojo. If anything breaks, I will know. I have all of the jet beat writers and all of the national writers for the NFL on lists on X. Albert Breer 1 minute ago. Breaking news. This is starting to feel like a quote, no turning back, unquote situation. That's what Bert Breer, the pioneer, is saying. Albert Breer, he goes by Bert Breer, the pioneer. So he says this is starting about Liam Cohen. This is starting to feel like a quote, no turning back, unquote situation. Well, I think Liam Cohen has Shad Khan over a barrel. What is Shad Khan going to do? I mean, he could basically ask for whatever he wants now, $20 million, which would be top of the top for head coaches, more than Sean Payton. Because what is what is he got to pay this man. You basically have to give this man whatever you want. Now, what about this? So this is something nobody's talking about. Is Liam Cohen going to grab up um, Mike Greenberg to be his GM? Now, John Spytek, the other guy in the Bucks, he's already been hired by the Raiders to be their new GM. So is Mike Greenberg going to go to Jacksonville with Liam Cohen? Because you figure Liam Cohen, the reason this is taking so long is not only money. Similar to Aaron Glenn, he's going to want some power, some voice as to who the GM is, so he knows he can work with that guy. Is that guy Mike Greenberg? That'd be interesting, and that'd be a good choice. Doesn't affect the Jets because he's not on our short list. But JoJo, if anything breaks, I'm going to have it right here. Rick Stroud, 9 minutes ago. To be clear, the Liam Cohen not the Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen contacted head coach Todd Bowles around 5 p.m. Thursday. That's today. He said he had been with one of his kids who had taken ill at a doctor's office. Oh, seems to be some skullduggery going on here. Rick Stroud of one of the Tampa newspapers says, to be clear, Liam Cohen contacted head coach Todd Bowles around 5 p.m. Thursday. He said he had been with one of his kids who had taken ill at a doctor's office. He mentioned the Jaguars situation only briefly, saying he wanted to look back into it, but then other reports were saying he was in Jacksonville all day. So somebody lying. Somebody lying. Somebody lying. Somebody lying. Somebody lying, and it looks like it's Liam Cohen. He lying. He said, "Oh, my kid got sick. Oh yeah, he had the doctor. What? Can your wife take it? Oh well, I got to take the kid. Can't expect the wife to always look after the kid. You gotta. No, you lying. Liam Cohen lying. He was in Jacksonville getting a new contract. So as soon as anything breaks, JoJo, I'm going to be right on top of it. And in fact, right now, Jane Slater is talking about the second interview that the Cowboys are having with guess who? OC Brian Shotty Schottenheimer. Oh, Shotty Schottenheimer might be a real candidate for the Cowboys, and I can tell you, if the Cowboys hire Brian Schottenheimer to be their head coach, the entire Cowboy Nation will throw a hissy fit, basically. Big Green says, got to get Trump in a Jets jersey. Well, yeah, that's the other thing that I propose, Big Green. After this term with Trump, he's the only one who could maybe convince Woody to sell. Because that whole thing I just said about Gary Vaynerchuk and the group of rich people, I don't think even if they went to Woody with an offer of 10, 12 billion, which is over market, think about how much money 10 billion is. 10 billion. $10 billion. Can you imagine it? Uh, I don't think Woody would take it because if he would, Gary would have done this already. I don't know if you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, but Gary would have done this already. So Trump may be the only one who could. Maybe he'd give him 20 billion. I don't know. She didn't do so well per the election. I don't know who you're talking about, Richard. What you got? Sluggo's here. Are you exhausted yet from the Jets drama? Well, no. I mean, I don't think we have much drama, Sluggo. We're trying to hire a head coach and a general manager, and we got one of the top candidates for head coach. We'll see who we hire for general manager, but no, I would say the drama is going on in Jacksonville and Tampa Bay right now, Sluggo. That's what I think. The real drama. Think about how the Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans feel right now, Sluggo. They thought they had Liam Cohen back. They thought they had everything under control. Everything's perfect. Great. He's coming back here. He's going to be the OC. We got Baker. We got Bowles. We got Cohen. We're all set. Good to go. He's coming in to sign his new OC contract. Okay. And he doesn't show up. And they can't contact him. He doesn't pick up his phone. And they find out later he's in Jacksonville working on a new contract to become the head coach of your Jacksonville Jaguars. That's where the drama's at, not the Jets. The Jets have done a good job so far. I would say that relative to what it could have been for the Jets, I mean, we're in the ghetto, buddy. The fact that we got one of the top candidates, I mean, how can you not be happy about that? That's not drama. What that is the Jets did pretty well this offseason considering our circumstances, which are not good. We don't, no matter what coach we have, if the circumstances aren't good. We still have to come up with a plan for quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of work to be done here, but Glenn was a good first step, I would say. And I would say that it seems to me that Woody, for once, made a good decision for how to proceed in this whole process, which makes me think, okay, maybe he could make some good decisions for once in his goddamn life about football, that is. So, yeah, that's the latest right now. Liam Cohen basically ghosted the Buccaneers, and then lied to his boss about a sick kid. Meanwhile, he was in Jacksonville working on a new contract with Shad Khan to become the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, Buccaneer fans got to be uh, Buccaneer fans got to be hopping mad. JoJo said, "I know Gary," and he said he's already tried. It's not easy. Yeah, I've heard him say that. That's where I'm getting that actually. He said Woody's not selling. Like he's already talked to Woody. Woody's not selling, and so that's what I'm saying. Even if you are somebody as big as Gary Vaynerchuk is, and he's huge, right? He's very wealthy. It's not going to get it done with regard to Woody Johnson. So that is why I'm saying I think the idea that we ran this process well this time through has to be encouraging because I think we're stuck with Woody. And if all Woody's going to do is screw everything up, then why even be a Jet fan? You see what I'm saying? We have to have some sort of faith that Woody can eventually learn from his mistakes, understand when he screwed things up like he did from the time we got Rodgers all the way through the firing of Douglas. Basically, all that time was all the money men and Douglas and Woody decisions, I think, and all of that didn't work at all because he didn't let his football people do the football things because he got all excited about Aaron Rodgers and what that meant for the money side. I think so. If But if he's just a total nincompoop who can't ever learn and just is just going to keep making dumb decision after dumb decision, then what is the point of being a Jet fan even? So it this offseason could have gone to a very dark place, I think, for a lot of Jet fans, and I think I speak for a lot of Jet fans who feel the same way. But then you look and you say, okay, we got we got the guy who got 7 out of 7 requests. Aaron Glenn, there were 7 head coaching openings. 7 teams requested Aaron Glenn for an interview. That tells you there's demand for his services on the club side, right? and we got him. So Sluggo says, oh, the Sluggo says, so you like Glenn? Yeah, I like Glenn. But what I like better is that six other teams also wanted to talk to Aaron Glenn. Every team with an opening wanted to talk to Aaron Glenn. That makes me feel good about it. Yes, I like Aaron Glenn. I like his background. I like his backstory. Check out my previous video, Sluggo, if you missed it, about Aaron Glenn. I would go through all of his background. I go through all of his mentors. Here's Aaron Glenn's mentors. Ready, Sluggo? Who are his big mentors in life? Here they are. Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, um, Sean Payton. Um, these are his mentors that he talks to a lot. Um, his high school coach he goes back and talks to, Al Groh from back in the day. All right, not a great name, but still, he has a bunch of really great mentors. And I'm also liking the fact that many Jets led. Remember, I talked to you guys about the Jets should form a Legends Council. You guys remember that? Raise your hand if you remember old Frankie talking about a Jets Legends Council. When I was trying to come up with ideas for what do we do with this idiot Woody Johnson. Well, one of the ideas I had was what if we had like a Legends Council, Curtis Martin, Kevin Mawai, Nick Mangold, Keyshawn Johnson, whoever, a Legends Council. Joe Namath, for God's sake, the guy Joe Namath is still alive and kicking, has a lot of ideas. You put together a Legends Council so that it's like a sounding board. Anytime Woody wants to go off the rails with some kind of decision, he calls a Zoom call with the Legends Council. Says, guys, this is what I'm thinking. Give me some feedback. I need some help here. Right? It was an idea I had. Well, guess what? A lot of Jet legends called Woody Johnson on behalf of Aaron Glenn and said, "You better hire this young man." Relatively young. He's 52, young for a coach, right? These legends are much older than he is, right? Um, you better hire this man, they told Woody. And they went to bat for him. So that makes me feel good about Aaron Glenn. He has mentors who are significant football people. He has the Jet legends calling Woody on his behalf and making the case that he's the man for the job, including Victor Green, his teammate. Keyshawn Johnson was his teammate. They all went to bat for him. And so it seems to me maybe we have formed, perhaps informally, this Legends Council where Woody's going to take advice from these legends. And so, again, I'm looking for silver linings here because I don't know about you guys, but this was a very demoralizing season in many ways. The losing, yes, but then also what we heard from the Atlantic articles, even though they were written by Diana Ducini and Zach Rosenblech, nonetheless, some of it was true and was confirmed by the Jets of some of the actions that Woody Johnson had taken. And it's not of a Daniel Snyder nature. It's just how can you root for this guy nature, a guy who, did some of the things that he did. So um, this offseason could have gone way off the rails if, let's say they hired, I don't know, if they hired, some Adam Gase 2.0 clown and the fans would have just like really, it just wouldn't have been fun to be a Jet fan anymore. So I think some of these things that we're seeing are looking pretty good, at least so far. At least they're not crazy. And to me, these are good things. So am I looking for good things? Yeah, because it's Woody Johnson's a very hard guy to root for when you hear about some of the things that he has done and some of the things going on in this uh, with this team and with his son and everything else going on. So yeah, and that's the whole point, Joe. It's like that's why he's not going to sell. He doesn't want the 10 billion now. He wants the asset to continue to go on through his sons who are young. That's the other thing that's annoying about Woody Johnson. His son is 17 years old. He is 77. How many 60-year-olds do you know have a brand new baby boy? At age 60, He's having a child. It's ridiculous. And now you see what happens when you have an old man trying to raise a child. He doesn't raise him at all. Rick Johnson's probably, the most spoiledish brat, the most spoiledy brat out there. I mean, you thought Paris Hilton was bad. Wait till you meet Brick Johnson. I mean, he's probably the most spoiled brat kid you've ever seen in your life because his father, when he was 5 years old, was 65. When he was 10 years old, his father was 70. How much discipline do you think old man Johnson is instilling in this child of 5 and 10 and etc.? Any? Probably none. He's an old man. He's an old man. So there you go. So Gangrene Goliath is here and he says, biggest worry. Well, that's really hard to say, Gangrene Goliath. There's a lot of questions that have to be answered first before we start worrying about anything specific. First of all, we got to get the head coach in place. Okay, check. Next, we got to get the GM in place. By tomorrow, we should know who that is. Okay, now Diana Dushini is reporting. Robert Saleh never left New Jersey for Jacksonville. He was planning on flying into Jacksonville for the interview, but plans are fluid. So looking like Saleh is going to get left out in the cold with this Liam Cohen business. So that could be good news either for the Raiders or maybe the Cowboys or maybe the 49ers in terms of DC. So Saleh never left New Jersey. Of course, he still has a home in Jersey, Saleh, from when he was our coach for Jacksonville. He was planning on flying into Jacksonville for the interview, but plans are fluid, is how Dirty Diana puts it. So that's the latest from her. Now, here's a contradictory report. Jordan Schultz. Sources say Robert Saleh just landed in Jacksonville. So here's a contradiction. Sources say from Jordan Schultz, the Schultz report, sources say Robert Saleh just landed in Jacksonville for what was supposed to be an interview tomorrow with the Jaguars. So somebody got to be lying. Somebody lying. Michael Silver says Robert Saleh did not, in fact, fly to Jacksonville today. So Schultz got that wrong, I guess. We got Rossini and Michael Silver, who I guess is somebody reputable, are both saying Saleh did not fly to Jacksonville. Schultz is saying he did. So I guess Schultz has that wrong. Josina is saying, wait more of a minute. The timeline appears problematic. So this developing story with Liam Cohen is going to probably be fascinating to see what the hell actually happened with this whole thing. Somebody lying, and I think the somebody lying is Liam Cohen. I think he lying. Now, Buccaneers fans are probably upset. Jacksonville Jaguar fans, to whatever degree they are, there are some, probably ecstatic to get Liam Cohen. They thought they had lost that opportunity. They still need a GM, but now Saleh is going to get, I guess, left out of the cold for the Jacksonville job where he was a favorite. And now, but he's still in the running as far as we know for maybe the Raiders job. He was interviewed by the Cowboys as well. So Robert Saleh was in a pretty good demand in this cycle, just highlighting the error of firing him when he did. And replacing him, of course, with Ulbrich. That was a big mistake by Woody also, obviously. So this is going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. It doesn't really have anything to do with us. By tomorrow, maybe late tonight, I was hoping maybe even as we were on the air here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are posting about the women's summit you can go to with Aaron Erin Andrews, and Charissa Thompson. So while all this is going on, boy, the Buccaneer fans got to be pissed. While all this is going on with Liam Cohen and all of this, they're posting about the. I mean, I shouldn't make fun, but I'm sure this is an important event. The Women's Summit is important. A full day summit leveraging the power of mentorship with some of the country's greatest female leaders, including Erin Andrews. She's one of the country's greatest female leaders. Erin Andrews and also Charissa Thompson. I shouldn't laugh at it. It's not that I'm laughing at the Women's Summit. It's that it's funny that the Buccaneers are tweeting about this as Liam Cohen ghosted them. And Buccaneer fans are probably pulling their hair out, going, wait a minute, we're posting about the Women's Summit. Liam Cohen just gave us the middle finger. What's going on here? What the hell's going on? So that's funny. Bert Breer, the pioneer, coming in hot. We got more coming on this. This is going to be the biggest story of the weekend. But just a wild situation, Bert Breer, the pioneer, says. Fair to say that Cohen is on track to become the Jaguars' next head coach. Okay, so that stays the same. And is almost certainly done with the Buccaneers either way. So let's say that whatever reason they don't hire Cohen, the Jaguars don't hire Liam Cohen to be head coach. Then he doesn't get to go back to the Bucks because he lied. He lied about where he was. This is hysterical, man. This is the drama, Sluggo. This is the drama. We don't got drama, Sluggo. This is the drama right here. Jacksonville and Tampa Bay got drama, Sluggo. The Jets, we're doing okay so far. We're fine. There's no drama for us yet. Right now, as of now, from the end of the season to now, we're fine. This is the drama right here. You think we got? What about the Cowboys? The Cowboys let all that time go, and then they fire Mike McCarthy, and now they're going to hire Brian Schottenheimer, maybe. I mean, that's the drama, Sluggo. We don't got no drama. Do you think the Cowboy fans are happy that they might be hiring Brian Schottenheimer? No. Are you crazy? They might burn the Star down. The Star is in Frisco, Texas. It's not in Dallas. And Jerry World is not in Dallas either. It's in Arlington. All right. Check on the Jets beat writers. Nothing new here. So I was hoping that we would get some news about the GM while I was on the air here, but it doesn't appear to be forthcoming. Could be tomorrow. They had 2 more interviews today with the final 2. There's now 3 candidates for the GM job. So the last 2 were in today. They did one in the morning, one in the afternoon, evening was the report. So I was hoping, but there's no certainty that they'll make a final decision today. But you would think certainly by tomorrow, you would anticipate, or maybe Saturday, the latest, they will choose one of those 3 gentlemen, and then we will know much more information. And we really can't know. I really want to get back to Gangrene Goliath's question about 2025. We really can't know what to worry about Gangrene Goliath until we know what's going on with those 2 positions, and then they have to make a decision about the 3 amigos. That would be Rogers, Adams, and Lazard. Those 3 people, those decisions have to be made what to do with those people. Once that decision's made and we know where we are roster-wise, then we'll know what to worry about. In other words, if those 3 come back, you have to start worrying about the defense. What are we doing with the defense? If those 3 aren't here, then we're sort of in rebuild, almost full rebuild mode. And you're just worrying about draft picks. Who can we trade to get more draft picks? Anybody? What kind of, it becomes less sort of exciting for next year because it's going to be a rebuild year. But if the 3 amigos come back, then you have a chance anyway to compete, assuming Rodgers can play like he did down the stretch, stay healthy. and all of that, and then we can kind of fix the defense with all of our assets, free agency, draft picks. So nothing new here. But this is going to be the story of the weekend. Today is Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. It's 1945 hours here on the East Coast of America, and this story is probably going to be going on and on. Oops, on and on into the weekend. Um, as we figure out more and more details of what the hell happened here. You have people supposed to fly in, people were not supposed to fly in. The guy didn't pick up his phone. He wasn't in contact. The representatives weren't being able to be contacted. Wild, wild story. Wild, wild story as to what's going on. And it should be noted, this is all happening. This is all happening. We have an update. This is all happening in the state of Florida, where there are plenty of Florida men. Connor Hughes is reporting at this hour. The Jets' second interviews with Darren Bougie Darren Muji, and downtown Trey Brown have concluded, per sources. They and Lance Newmark are the three to interview a second time. No decision made yet, although that could be coming soon/tomorrow. Head coach Aaron Glenn's introductory press conference is Monday. So there you have it. That's the latest. They've concluded all three of their second interviews. You got Bougie Darren Muji, you got downtown Trey Brown, and you got Lance Newmark. And so they're going to choose one of those people either tonight at some point, or more likely, I would say tomorrow, though who knows? I mean, who really knows? But that's the breaking news uh, from Connor Hughes about our GM. So that's not drama. I would say that's just us. We're hiring a GM. This is normal. We're doing things normal. let's give Woody and the boys credit when they deserve credit. We're doing normal. Look what's going on in Tampa Bay and Jacksonville and Dallas. Okay, what's going on in Las Vegas? Who are they going to get? Uh, we're actually doing all right so far. Let's be thankful. When we do things normal. We got one of the most highly sought after candidates in this cycle, Aaron Glenn, for the head coaching position. Okay. And we're going to get one of these three guys. And to be honest, I don't have any feelings for any of them either way. See, they all seem pretty qualified. They all seem like they're ready to take on the next step in their career to be a GM. So I don't know. Like whoever gets announced, I'm not going to have that much emotion about it. I'm going to be like, all right, well, let's go. If this is the guy Aaron Glenn wanted, okay, great. Get in alignment, and then I think it's going to be important to figure out what's going on with the salary cap, how we're going to deal with these players. Da, 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 da. So, to me, there's no drama. Actually, we're going to pick one of these three guys, and they're all highly qualified. They all have different backgrounds, slightly different, and whoever we pick, it's going to be like, all right, well, I don't think anybody feels strongly about any one of these three guys. Bougie Darren Muji. Anybody feel any kind of way about Bougie Darren Muji? Downtown Trey Brown or Lance Newmark? I mean, they all have good backgrounds. They all are solid. But I don't have any feelings either way about any of them. So that's what I got to say about that. Yeah, we got to stop this, B Trav. But hopefully, I'm hoping Woody has learned, B Trav. I'm just hoping and praying that Woody has learned his lesson and he doesn't allow this anymore. Get these friggin' kids away from the team. Put them in your booth, fine. Keep them out of the locker room. Keep them away from the players. We don't want them interacting with our players. Now, if it continues, though, it's gonna be hard to be a Jet fan with this sort of stuff going on, or to be not hard to be a Jet fan, but hard to be a very serious Jet fan who cares a lot about a team when this sort of thing's happening. Salah going to San Fran. Well, he might. He's still in contention in Dallas, in Vegas to be the head man. But if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he certainly is going to San Fran, going to be at DC. And then the 49er fans will be very, very happy. And then next year, they're going to be very, very disappointed. Unless they stock that defensive line full of just awesome players. Then they'll be then they'll be happy. Hey, what about that clock on the wall? You know what, Slogo? The entire thing behind me is actually fake. This is a detective's office, but I'm not a detective. You might have noticed. See the old timey radio over here? None of this behind me is actually there. This is like a 1940s era private detective office, but it's not actually really there, Sluggo. Big Green has a big comment. We should make an app to track stats for facts for. Yes, that's a good idea. You could call it Pundit Tracker. I actually have an idea for this, Big Green, but I don't know how I could execute on it. I was actually going to come up with like the Ethics in Journalism Institute, and I was going to do this whole thing, but in order to do that, it's a huge effort, and I'm not sure I could pull it off. I'm not sure I could pull it off. Well, for me, Sluggo, I could go either way, and I don't. I'm not. What I'm really good at, Sluggo, is trying to figure out what the Jets are going to do. If you notice over the years, that's been my value proposition. When I got to know Salah and understood what he was about, and now I'm starting to get to know Glenn the same way. And then as soon as we have a GM, I'll do my research. I'll start watching interviews, getting a feel for that person, and then watching how they're operating, what they say, what they do. And then eventually I'll be able to tell you what's going to happen. I'll tell you today what's going to happen tomorrow. And I've been doing some of that with some things, but for me, I could go either way. It's a 50-50 for me. If you keep it's not Rogers because it's Rogers and the three amigos. I think the way Rogers goes, the other two go. So to me, it's a decision about the three amigos. And whatever decision you make determines if you get rid of Rogers, we're not competing next year, probably. I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe Tyrod takes us to the playoffs. Who knows? There's been you know more unlikely things that happen in the NFL, but more than likely then next year's a rebuild year and we draft a rookie quarterback and let him compete and all that, and then we're in the rebuild mode, which is not a fun mode. We've been through it. um but then if you keep Rodgers, then you keep Adams and you keep Lazard and you try to band-aid it for a year, build up the defense, and then address quarterback long term next year. So I don't know, we'll see. I could go either way, but I'm not in charge, and my value prop is mostly about telling you what's going to happen. Diana Ruccini reporting 32 seconds ago. So, what changed for Liam Cohen? According to Diane Ruccini, he got on the plane to Jacksonville after Jags ownership called him directly and explained they will let him pick the general manager and would pay him Ben Johnson level money along with multiple years per sources. Wow. There's too many sources that talk to Dirty Diana, I'll tell you that much. But I mean, look at this information she has. He got on the plane to Jacksonville after Jags ownership called him directly and explained they will let him pick the general manager. So you got to think that's going to be Mike Greenberg, right? And would pay him Ben Johnson level money. Ben Johnson level money is $14 million along with multiple years. So Liam Cohen's going to get 14, 15 million. So these owners now, you got to pony up for the coaching. Now you wonder if they're going to have a big budget for his coaching staff, because that would be something I would strongly advocate for, especially with the Jets. I'm pretty sure Aaron Glenn's probably going to get Ben Johnson money or somewhere close. He's not going to get no 5 million that Solid got. He's going to get at least 10, I would think, with as much leverage as he had. And but so there's that, and hopefully Woody does not cheap out on the rest of the coaching staff because that's equally well, that's almost as important. Jojo, what happened to the Cowboys? Well, have you been following them? Jerry's. Well, this is a Jojo. If I to explain what happened to the Cowboys, I would have to probably do like a 2 hour video. How could I summarize this? So Jerry Jones is the owner. He's also the GM. The president of the team is Stephen Jones. The president of marketing or whatever is Charlotte Jones. It's a family operation. The Cowboys are seen by the Jones family as a marketing vehicle first that happens to play football second. They're a family of business people who have an amazing asset called the Dallas Cowboys that is one of the most valuable franchises of sports teams in all the world, and they know it, and they use it as a marketing vehicle to make boatloads of generational money for their family. And they also play football. So, that being said, they've usually normally gotten some decent head coaches, but um, and they've made the playoffs under Mike McCarthy 3 years in a row before this year, and then fizzled out famously. But it's like you have to deal with the crazy Jones family. And some would say Jerry Jones is a better owner than Woody Johnson because he at least knows football to some extent because he was an offensive lineman at Arkansas back in the day, which is true. And Woody Johnson was not. Obviously, Woody Johnson didn't play any football, pencil neck geek that he is. So, um, but others would say actually Jerry Jones is worse because he thinks he knows everything and he does in business. He's a brilliant businessman. So, if he gets a few things wrong on the football side, who cares? Look at the business. But any head coach then has to deal with all that. The owner is the GM. There's the only team that's the case where the owner is the GM. There's no other team like that. So not everybody wants to work there, but a lot of people do because it's the Dallas goddamn Cowboys. You know, so it's a complicated situation, a fascinating team. I enjoy following them. I'll put in a plug if you want to find out, keep up with the Cowboys, especially if the Jets, fall off a cliff and they're just horrible again, and you're looking for a second team to kind of get you by until the Jets can fix things, and you want to then study up and figure out what's really going on with the Cowboys. Follow Mike Fisher on YouTube, the Mike Fisher Cowboys channel. That's a second one would be Scooter Magruder, funny name, but a smart guy, and he does sort of comical videos. But if you want straight reporting, probably the best reporter on the Cowboys, I would say, is Mike Fisher. I think he knows the most. It's been 35 years on the Cowboy beat. I don't think there's anybody who knows more about the Cowboys than Mike Fisher does. I really don't. So watch his channel. I'll plug it. If I want to know what's going on with the Cowboys, I check out the Mike Fisher channel. He does, I think, about 2 broadcasts per day. So tons of content. If you want to know the inside dope of what's really going on with the Cowboys, that's probably the best place to go. Gangrene Goliath, you were brought up earlier by Jets Chaos with O'Leary saying you would make a great GM. Mm, well, I don't know about that. Being a general manager, think about, I mean, if, it was probably said in jest, Gangrene Goliath, I'm sure. And maybe I'd make a good fan GM, if you know what I'm saying, like a fan GM. But a real GM, no. These general manager jobs are incredibly difficult. You don't get paid $5, $10 million a year if you're not an absolute killer. You understand me? You have to be an assassin to get one of these jobs. There's only 32 of them. You're going to make 5, 8, whatever they're going to make $1 million. You are going to be an absolute killer. You are going to be working 100 hours a week plus. You're never going home. You're never seeing your kids. You're never seeing your spouse. You're never going fishing. You're never surfing the internet. You are working, uh, you know, 14 hours a day, every day, Saturday, Sunday. You know what I'm saying? You have to be an absolute killer to be an actual general manager, if that's what you're talking about. Now, fan GM, where I can have some good suggestions and tell you what I would do and what free agents to pick up. Yeah, I have a good history about that. People who remember my old channel, I think one of the best videos I ever did, not to toot my own horn, but one of the best videos I ever did, and once we get a new general manager, maybe I'll do another video like this, was I took our entire offseason situation and put it into a video, meaning how much money do we have in cap room? Who are the available free agents? What are our needs? Who might we get? Blah, blah, blah. And then our draft picks and all this. Because that's how you have to look at it. When you look at free agents, let's get this guy, let's get that guy. Okay. But you have to look at it as a big picture. Like, what are all the moves we're going to make? We only have so much money. So if we spend it all on one guy, we can't get anybody else. So you have to look at the whole picture. That was one of the best videos I ever did. And I got a lot of it right. I got almost all of it right. Everybody was talking about Marcus Williams that year. I was telling you guys about Jordan Whitehead. Who did we get? Some of the ones were easy. Everybody knew we were going to get the guard from San Francisco. Now, he played terrible for us for whatever the reason, but it was easy to know we were going to sign him, and we did. So forth and so on. But that's the way to look at it. You have to look at the whole picture, and a lot of times people don't. And I think once we get, but I also at that time had gotten to a feel for Sala and Douglas, and so I kind of knew how they viewed things and how they operated, especially Douglas. And now, so right now, I couldn't do that because I don't know who the GM is. I got to do my, to figure out how this person operates. Two updates. Zach Rosenblatt update breaking news. Wouldn't be surprised if GM search wrapped up soon, Rosenblatt says. Would be surprised if Robert Saleh landed in Jacksonville. Michael Silver, 24 minutes ago, I expect the 49ers to rehire Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator. Connor Hughes refutes the Jordan Schultz report by saying, I'm talking to Robert Saleh now. So I guess Hughes has, this is the ultimate source right here. Connor Hughes has the ultimate source, guys. It's Robert Saleh. I'm talking to Robert Saleh now, Hughes says. He told me he never flew to Jacksonville today. He's currently in Jersey with his family. So he was talking directly to Saleh. so so Schultz got it wrong. All these other people got it right. Doesn't mean Schultz is an idiot, but I'm not saying Jordan Schultz is an idiot. I'm also not saying Jordan Schultz, in case you didn't know. I think everybody should call Jordan Schultz Big Latte. Why should we call Jordan Schultz Big Latte? Oh, there's a lot of comments here. Sorry, I didn't get to your guys' comments, but let me go back. Gangrene. So that's what I think with the GM stuff. Once we actually get a GM, then I'll tell you what we're going to do before we do it. Yes, 100%. AFG, yes. Yeah, but here's the thing, AFG. So two things about this. Anytime Tyrod Taylor is mentioned, there's a knee-jerk reaction to mention his injuries. So that's one thing. You're not you're not being unique, and B, understand anytime there's a knee-jerk reaction, that means you've been conditioned by media to say something. And third, if we go to Tyrod, we would be in a bridge situation. And Tyrod's injury history, in a certain way, if you look at it, is actually a plus. Because let's say we went Tyrod, Jordan, draft pick your guy, Jackson Dart, Will Howard, Jalen Miller, whoever. Those three guys, or we sign Justin Fields, or whatever. Those three guys would compete to be the starter. If Tyrod wins, and let's say it's two young guys like Jordan, and say we get Milrow, right? So Tyrod's the starter, but he's the bridge. He's not taking us in. When you have a bridge guy, you're not going anywhere. He's just a guy that you're playing because these other two are developing. So then when he gets injured, guess what? Young fella comes in to get some playing time. So again, we need to look at the full picture. And I like Tyrod. I think he's good. But yes, he's gotten injured. But guess who else gets injured? Every quarterback almost. Yeah, this is true. Do 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 do. Sluggo, we got three candidates that we're choosing from. So we're going to choose one of these three by tonight or tomorrow. And Bill Polian's son is not one of them. Okay, Gangrene Goliath remembers my old channel. That's that's nice. Very few people do. But yeah, if you remember those days, that's what I was good at. Uh, so once we get the people in place, as long as I'm sufficiently motivated, I'll be able to do that again by figuring out what will actually happen, which is pretty valuable. All right, see you, Sluggo. Yeah, this is the thing. Who's the young fella? I mean, we have Jordan, so that's one. Then we would what have we been talking about? AFG, the bucket of guys. Pick your favorite excuse me. Pick your favorite developmental quarterback. Milrow, Dart, Will Howard. They're all in a bucket, and they have to be graded out, and you put the ones who have similar grades in a bucket, and then whoever falls to you in whatever round you feel appropriate, you take them. I don't know which one could be good or not. I mean, I guess if I had to pick out of all of them, probably my favorite two are probably Milrow and Howard. They have the most tools, but does that mean they're going to be good? No, I have no idea. Nobody does, pretty much. And that's why if you went that route, it's like Tyrod's there to be the bridge. He's just going to play until he can't play no more because in theory, these two aren't ready yet. Now, it's possible maybe Jordan Travis, for example, comes into training camp and blows the doors off of everything. And, okay, unexpected, amazing. He's the starter. Now there's our young fella. But you don't know that. We have no idea to know, no way to know that. So he just has to come to training camp as a guy. And then young fella, whichever one it is, Will Howard, Jalen Milrow, whichever one, also comes in. He could blow the doors off. Unlikely, but he could. Maybe he comes in and like, wow, this kid's amazing. Kind of like the Russell Wilson situation in Seattle so long ago. They paid a lot of money for what was his name? Matt Flynn. They paid a lot of money to Matt Flynn in the offseason. Russell Wilson came in as a third round rookie and blew the doors off. And they said, well, we got to go with this Wilson guy. He's amazing. And Matt Flynn became a very expensive backup. And that's sort of the situation you'd be in without Rodgers. It's like it's not ideal and it's not as exciting, and you can't expect to contend. And anybody if we're in that situation where it's Tyrod, Jordan, and young fella X, whichever one it is that we pick, you can't you can't go into any conversation with any other team's fans and say we expect to compete. We can expect to compete. Is it possible that Tyrod has an amazing year and stays healthy? And I mean, anything's possible in the NFL, and Tyrod's better than people give him credit for. He is a quality QB. Quality meaning quality backup. He. But you can't. If that's the case, you can't expect fan enthusiasm to be that high because you can't expect to compete with a situation like that. You can't expect it. You can hope. You can pray. You can you can look and just take. It's just a rebuilding situation. Again, it's the same thing with when Zach came here. And you, if old heads remember my old channel, I would continually say, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm hoping. I see the traits. I know why we like them. I see the arm talent, but I don't know. Quarterback's a head position. It's a brain position. And if you, that's hard to, it's hard to evaluate. And it didn't work out with Zach. And same thing with these kids. It could be that Jordan Travis's brain game, say, is better than anybody could have ever expected. Could be, but you can't count on that. And same thing with young fella X, whichever one we take, Will Howard, Jelliman, who knows? They come in and oh my God, their brain, like their, when I say brain, I mean football intelligence, the ability to make the decisions in the time you need to make them as an NFL quarterback in the NFL against NFL competition. Maybe it's Will Howard and he just has it, or maybe it's that kid McCord out of Syracuse who used to be at Ohio State, or I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But what you do know is um, you can't expect to compete with a situation like that. You can't expect it. Anybody says to you, "Well, the Jets are going to stink," you kind of have to go, "Yeah, probably," because there's no certainty in any of that, at least for next year. And until you see one of these young guys uh, starting to emerge, it's hard to have hope. Maybe we could get the next Jaden Daniels. Maybe. All right. So no further breaking news, as far as we can see. It's been a wild evening with this whole Florida man situation. I think they should rewrite these headlines. Instead of Liam Cohen, it should just be Florida man. Florida man ghosts Buccaneers to pursue Jaguars. That's what they should. That's what they should rewrite the headlines to. Yeah, well, with A-Rod, well, he's not. I mean, we got to get the jam in place. Let's see what happens after the next couple of days. Then they're going to put their heads together, come up with a plan. I think Rogers is going to be pretty quick to tell them. Well, first of all, they have to want him, and then if they don't want him, then we're just going to cut him, and then it doesn't matter what he wants. Um, if they do want him, then I think he'd be pretty quick. And there's nothing been said about him going to any darkness retreats or ayahuasca trips or anything. So I think he's going to know pretty quickly, if I had to guess, but I'm just guessing. Yeah, we don't even know if Travis can walk. Yeah, exactly right. But he's on the roster, so he's going to be in training camp, we presume. Richard says, I remember. Well, good. I'm glad a few people remember. You would be surprised how quickly people forget you. I learned that real quick. People will forget you in a nonce. uh, all right. So we're keeping an eye on Twitter now because, man, there's some wild stories. I was kind of hoping that Michael Silver is reporting that Sala is expected to return to the 49ers. That's probably the best for us if you think about it, right? Now, I'm a Robert Sala fan. I think he's a good man. I think he's a good coach. Wasn't the right head coach for us. I get it. Wasn't the right head coach for us. But he's a good man. I like Robert Sala a lot, and I hope he is successful as a DC out there in San Fran. But that's probably the best outcome for us, right? He could just be out there on the West Coast, sort of buried. Most Jet fans won't see him. He won't be a head coach in the AFC, at least for a few years. Let him just cool his heels out in San Fran again and reestablish his value. But Michael Silver, who is a writer, okay, writer for The Athletic. So I guess this is probably the Athletics 49ers writer, I would assume. Is national columnist. National columnist. Whenever you see the word columnist, you know they're a jackass. But anyway, He is an official reporter guy. Latest on Salah's expected return to the 49ers. So I guess he's not going to be in consideration for the Cowboys or the Raiders. I guess he's just like, you know what? Let me go back to Shanahan. Let me go back. Let me go back to where they want me. You know what? Enough with these Jacksonville people. Let me just take the DC job already. Enough with this. Can't blame the guy, and he'll probably do all right if they load up his defensive line for him. Now it's been reported they're going to have to release Javon Hargrave. That's a guy we should look into very carefully. They want to re-sign him, but they're letting him out of his contract. So we'll see if they re-sign him at a different deal or what. But if he becomes a free agent, that's somebody we need to look at very closely ourselves. Imagine Javon Hargrave next to Quinnen Williams. Okay, now we got something on the as far as the defensive front. Rick Furdy, Birdie Furdy, Frankie, you're the man. All right, I appreciate that, man. AFG, I would love Travis. Yeah, I think we all would love Travis to be amazing. But first, we got to see him do something. We all love now the positives about Jordan Travis. We've heard a lot of great things about Jordan Travis in terms of his brain game, in terms of leadership, leader of men. His teammates loving him. Keon Coleman went to Florida. They said, "Why did Keon Coleman? Remember him? He's now on the Buffalo Bills, and they're about to go to the Super Bowl. Remember him?" They said, "Why did you go to Florida State? What made you go there?" You know what he said? Jordan Travis. I want to play with Jordan. Why did you want to play with Jordan? Oh, he's an amazing leader, amazing teammate, great quarterback. Love Jordan Travis. That's what he said. So that sort of thing is there with Jordan. And so that's a good place to start as far as a quarterback's concerned. But, he had a very serious injury and then he had a setback. That's not good. So, yeah, I mean, he's on the roster, presumably going to be in training camp if he doesn't have any more setbacks, hopefully. And, but you can't count on him for anything. But you can hope and dream. And, we all hope. I hope everybody does well. If you're a Jet, Rick Furdy, the Dirty Birdie, wants to know, very serious, who you want for the GM. Curious. Well, we got three candidates for the GM. I have no strong feeling either way. I don't think there's much to differentiate these guys. So the three candidates that we're down to, and the latest news, if you didn't hear, as of about 28 minutes ago, the second or 32, 28, about a half hour ago, the second interviews with Bougie Darren Muji and Downtown Trey Brown have concluded per sources. They, says Connor Hughes, they and Lance Newmark are the three to interview a second time. No decision made yet, although that could be coming soon/tomorrow. Somebody under here put at Willpa11, that's Will Parkinson, thinks it's going to be Muji. Now, Will Parkinson is not a rando with an opinion. He does have opinions, but he's not a rando. So Will Parkinson does have sources and he does have contacts. He's not always right either. But somebody's putting in here, Will Parkinson thinks it's going to be Muji. But I don't know. They all have good backgrounds. And whoever it is, it is. I've read their bios and they all seem qualified to me. So I don't have any real strong opinions either way. They seem like three very good candidates. What the important thing is that we were able to land Aaron Glenn in part because, and we talked about this earlier in the broadcast, we were able to land Aaron Glenn in part because we promised him a voice in terms of picking the GM. We might have told him he could pick the GM, but we at least promised him a voice. The New Orleans Saints did not. He wanted them to fire Mickey Loomis and he wanted to pick his own GM, and they said, no, get out of here. We're not doing that. And so, therefore, that was a smart decision made by Woody for us to be able to land a candidate the quality of Aaron Glenn, which There were 7 openings for head coaching jobs. Aaron Glenn got interview requests for all 7. And so that's a heavily demanded candidate. And we got him. So that's impressive because we're a trash garbage team. And we were able to get one of the best candidates in this year's cycle. So that's good. And part of that is Glenn's wanted influence on this decision. So basically, whoever Aaron Glenn wants out of this trio here, I think, I think he's going to get. And then hopefully those two work in alignment and work in collaboration very well. And hopefully the collab works and we build a roster. That's the important thing. There's really nothing. I don't think really anybody can tell you that there's a huge difference between Darren Muji, Trey Brown, and Lance Newmark. I, I mean, it, anybody really going to tell you there's a huge difference between these 3 guys? They're all 3 guys with a lot of experience in front offices at different organizations and teams, and they've all worked their way up through these organizations. So, I mean, how can you have an opinion of them? They haven't made any draft picks themselves. Lance Newmark was instrumental in influencing Brad Holmes and picking Kirby Joseph, which sounds good, but I'm pretty sure that Brad Holmes was high on Kirby Joseph anyway. So, you know, I think everybody was high on Kirby Joseph, including myself. I wish we got him. I was banging the table for that guy, but nobody was listening to me. All right. So no further information being reported at this hour. No further information being reported at this hour. Yeah, Drew Aller. Well, the problem with Drew Aller is that he would probably be QB1 in this draft, AFG, so we wouldn't get him. I mean, how would we have gotten him? If Drew Aller came out this year, he's probably QB1 and probably 1-1. In other words, he's probably the first pick of the draft. Let's look at Tankathon. So Tennessee, almost certainly Tennessee would take him. Right? They need a quarterback unless they're going to sign Sam Darnold or something like that. But if they don't sign a big free agent quarterback, Tennessee, they would take him. So we wouldn't have access to Drew Aller, AFG, unless we traded up for it, which we don't have. Well, I mean, I guess we could, but I think Tennessee would be locked in on him. They'd be like, "Great, we need a quarterback. Here's a big guy with a big arm, mobile enough, not Josh Allen mobility, but big arm, you know, good mechanics, all that good stuff. I mean, good, not good mechanics. His mechanics are sometimes a little squirrely, but a good release he has. So I like Drew Aller a lot. I think he's going to benefit from another year in college. But I think if he came out this year, he would have been 1-1, dude. Like, how would we get him? We have the 7th pick. I mean, what are you going to do? Trade Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and Quinnen Williams to Tennessee for the like? I don't think we could get him. I don't think so. I don't think so. All right, so there's no more news coming on. I know that Green Bean is on for the Thursday thick of it, so I guess I'll head out of here since there doesn't seem to be much commentary going on. Maybe you guys are over in Green Bean's room as well. Tell Green Bean I said hello. And Rick Verdi says, if DJ Reed leaves, which I think he will, do you think we get someone on the draft day too, or any free agents come to mind, or even someone in-house? Yes, we'll definitely draft someone. So if Will Johnson falls to us, for example, we could take him. That would be a shutdown corner. We could sign Brandon Eccles. And there'll be plenty of free agents that we could sign. I would sign Brandon Eccles myself, personally. Two free agents I would sign from our team are Sherwood and Eccles. Roll with Eccles in the starting role because he'll be fairly cheap, and then spend your money on defensive line, specifically defensive tackle. But it's going to be a situation where at number 7, we're going to be sitting there, and several different guys can fall to us. And as long as we have them all graded similarly, in other words, Mason Graham might fall to us, Will Johnson might fall to us, Abdul Carter might fall to us, though probably not. Um, one of those guys has to fall to us, and there's going to be, or maybe the, the Campbell, the tackle. One of these guys has to fall to us. They can't all go because there's only six players get picked ahead of us. And so depending on how that goes, then the rest of the draft goes. If we take Will Johnson from Michigan, the cornerback, then we're set at cornerback. We got our three corners and we're done. And then the rest of the draft, we got to focus on defensive tackle. We got to get a right tackle, all that stuff. So the answer is, unfortunately, at this point, it depends. Darnold draft, I wasn't paying too much attention. I was very, very busy at that time. Yeah, AFG, that's the way it goes sometimes. Oh yeah, I have a post about that, Trav. So let me remind people. So I do put I think some interesting posts not only on X, so you should follow me on X, but also on. And here's the if you're on X, I would recommend following me. I do put a lot of good stuff on X, but also on the community tab on this channel, on the YouTube channel, has a community tab, and I post a bunch of good stuff there. So you may want to check those out. So one of the things B Trav just mentioned um, about the Lion free agents. So Adam Schefter put out the list of to be Lion free agents, and I circled the ones that we're going to get. So if you want to know, check out the community tab. All right. And then for this weekend, what do we got coming up? We got coming up coffee with Frankie, as always, 10 a.m. on Sunday. And then Sunday night, we're going to watch the Bills and the Chiefs. We're going to do a watch along, 6:30 p.m. on this channel. The Bills, the Chiefs. Are the refs going to blow it once again? Are the Bills going to be denied, or are the Swifties going to be denied? My best guess is the Swifties will not be denied. They're too much of an economic powerhouse. But we'll watch it together, see what happens, what kind of crazy flags they're going to throw, that so forth and so on. But thanks for joining me on this spontaneous outing, spontaneous live stream. Click the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, thank you very much. Tell Green Bean I said